regardless of what comes up, don't make problems worse than they truly are, and don't make relationships better than they actually were. And this is going to help you to begin to set yourself free and to find happiness, to find hope, to find centeredness, to find yourself back in this moment. I think the main reason why you're staying stuck in your own separation anxiety, or in your own heartbreak, breakup, separation, divorce, or you're just staying stuck in general in life and business or in your health, is it's really because you are not embracing the truth. And today we're going to be talking about 5 actual steps that you can use to embrace the truth inside your life and relationships. What is up, my dear friends, and welcome back to another episode of Honey, I Am Home. Today we are going to be talking about how knowing the truth oftentimes sets you free. And this is a conversation that I know is a path that's going to lead to healing and more freedom in your life, in your relationships, in your health, in your personal life, in your business life, whatever life you're currently facing. You've got to set the path to getting to know the truth. You see, to talk a little bit about knowing the truth, I want to kind of give you a little bit of an insight, because I know that in the midst of a relationship struggle, especially during a separation, it's oftentimes very crucial to seek the truth in your situation. However, what many of us do is we shelter ourselves from accepting the truth. We have a hard time in acceptance, and oftentimes we live in denial, or what we oftentimes do is we make things better than they truly were. And when we're going through a separation, when we're going through a struggle, when we're feeling stuck, we always seem to elevate the very thing that we struggle with. And oftentimes we cling to the beliefs that may not fully reflect the reality of our current situation or our relationship, which oftentimes leads to confusion and prolonged pain. So I need you to sit back real quick and just take a couple of minutes with me, to spend your day with me, to talk a little bit about, why I think it's important for you to get to know the truth, and how the truth will begin to set you free, and how, if you find your truth and you find the reality, the real reality for what it is, that you will find a clearer path to your healing and freedom in your, heartbreak, your breakup, separation, or divorce, regardless of where you're feeling stuck. You're one truthful statement or understanding away from being able to clear up a strong path to freedom for yourself. So take a moment to pause, because I want you to ask yourself this question. And I think it's a profound question that we all need to ask ourselves anytime that we are not seeing the truth. The truth for what it really is, which is true. The question is, what is the real truth here? When I sit down and I think about when I go through a difficult time in my life, I'm always trying to figure out, more importantly, the truth. Regardless of how I feel, my personal beliefs, trying to not label the situation as good and or bad. I just try to ask myself, what is the real truth here? Because when I ask myself, what is the real truth here, I tap into my inner self, my heart self, my intuition, my higher self, the part of me that knows me the best, and oftentimes knows what's best. Your inner self, or the part of you that knows what's best, will guide you to the truth if you're willing to listen. And a part of listening is to first ask a question. If you're struggling right now and not being able to overcome this very hard time in your life, regardless of the situation, you've got to ask yourself a question. The question that I need you to ask is, what is the real truth here? And then allow yourself to just sit in solitude and silent, and allow yourself to connect to your heart-centered self. Allow yourself to sit with yourself and higher self, and allow that higher voice within yourself to speak into the situation, the relationship in your life. Now, while you're listening, the idea here is it's not about allowing yourself to label your feelings as a positive or a negative feeling. It's just about embracing your authentic truth, your authentic self. And when you allow yourself to see the truth, I really believe no matter how difficult it can be, it really does open the doors to true healing and true freedom within your life, within your financial future, within your relationships, within your businesses, regardless of where you're at. Now, this is a relationship podcast, but this really does apply to anything in your life that you're feeling like you're currently struggling and you're staying stuck in that heartbreak, pain, that breakup, that separation, that divorce. You're feeling like the only way that you can ever find some hope and happiness in your life is if you win your current situation back, meaning you win your ex back, or you try to fix what has been broken. And I just don't think that that's always the truth. I don't think that's always the answer. I think that part of the separation season is really about you understanding that, this time in your life, God is asking you to just step into learning about you and discovering God and discovering your authentic self and your inner self. Because oftentimes when I start talking about, through my community, hey, how you need to connect with your heart-centered self or your inner self or your higher, version of yourself, or your, maybe it's just simply your higher self, to help you to reveal the truth, or help you to reveal the next steps toward your healing, or to help you to reveal the next steps in your business and what you should focus on and where you should go. Oftentimes people are like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and I haven't heard that voice in a very, very long time. It's because you have ignored, you have pushed down that voice because you have been waiting for other people to speak for you. And this very moment, at least what I remember back in my situational days of a heartbreak, is that I was waiting for somebody else to bring me happiness. I was waiting for someone else to bring me answers. I was waiting for someone else to bring me confidence, bring me love, bring me appreciation, bring me significance, bring me certainty, bring me peace, bring me hope, bring me joy, bring me just decisions. I didn't have the ability as a man to make strong decisions because I always waited for my partner or somebody else to make those decisions for me. And when we go through these difficult challenges, whether we, lose ourselves in a relationship and we no longer can connect to that higher voice, or, maybe you're an athlete who listens to this, and if you resonate with me as an athlete, I lost the game of football, which is the very sport that I identified with, that helped me through a lot of trauma, a lot of pain, a lot of identity crisis that I faced, of not knowing my purpose, my significance, my value that I would bring to this world. And when I lost that game of sport, I lost myself. And ultimately, I found out, like, in the moments of losing yourself or something grand happens in your life, we have to make sure that we recognize it as a moment to hone in on developing a healthier relationship toward ourselves, and not being so dependent upon somebody else, or maybe a career or money or things to fulfill us and that we can identify with. You see, you need to sit down and allow yourself to reconnect to your higher self, your heart-centered self, that can lead you to the direction that you really want to, find yourself experiencing a greater quality of life. And, I know right now it might be difficult in your life because you might find yourself feeling hopeless, lost, stuck, confused, hurt, frustrated, angst, whatever it is that you're currently experiencing and facing, my friend. But listen, it's like every time I hit my lowest of lows, I've realized that there's this inner voice within my own heart, within my own mind, that could talk to me and help me feel and see and hear the truth if I allowed myself to ask myself the question, what is the real truth here? And now the important part of this message is, it's not about labeling your feelings as positive or negative. It's allowing to whatever answer comes up to be the answer without judgment. Your heart will know, and your mind will oftentimes play tricks on you, my dear friends. And I believe that you deserve to know the truth, and I believe that you don't need to wait for somebody else to give you that truth when you could just give it to yourself. You know the truth. It's just you're struggling right now because you don't want to accept the truth of whatever that truth is. You just don't want to accept it. And what is denied cannot be accepted, and what is not accepted cannot be acknowledged and or healed. And so if you want a true path toward healing and freedom in your life and your relationships, so that you can cultivate a greater joy, you need to learn how to know the truth by asking yourself, what is the real truth here? And allowing for whatever to come up, and allow that to be the truth. Because your suffering stems from relying on somebody else, whether that be relationally, financially, physically, spiritually, emotionally, to bring you something that might never come. Most people drop the ball on other people. you think about how many times you've dropped the ball on yourself. Like, you don't show up for yourself to bring you happiness. You don't show up for yourself to bring you more financial independence. You don't, show up for yourself to be in that healthy and fit physical body, mind, spirit, right? Like, it takes a lot of action, discipline, courage, clarity in order for us to evolve and show up for ourselves. And that's why I'm saying you got to stop waiting for somebody else to show up for you so that you can be who you want to be or feel the way that you want to feel. And instead, you got to understand that if you ask the question, what is the real truth here? You will find an answer if you allow yourself the time and space needed in order to rebuild back that connection and relationship to your higher self, my friend. And so some of the actual steps here to embrace the truth in your relationship is, I need you to, number one, reflect without judgment. I need you to ask yourself that question, what is the real truth here? Then reflect without judgment. I need you to find a quiet space to reflect on your relationship without placing blame or judgment on anything or anyone. The goal here when you come to reflect is you got to find a quiet space to just sit back, relax, calm yourself down, allow the negative beliefs, the negative past stories to kind of just escape your mind. And I know that that's hard, but that's why I recommend always meditating, because meditating allows you to kind of equip yourself with the proper skill set to redirect your thoughts. But ultimately, you got to reflect without judgment, meaning you got to find a quiet space to reflect on your relationship without placing blame or judgment. You got to ask yourself, what is the real truth about this situation? Then once again, open up a notepad, a paper, a Remarkable, an iPad, whatever, and write down your thoughts to gain some clarity. You see, you have a lot of stuff going on within your head, and it's hard for you to kind of be able to work through that to find what is truth, because you're not allowing yourself to extract the thoughts out of your mind. Once they get out of your mind, you'll be able to see things with more clarity. And so I'm asking you, if you want to walk toward your own internal truth so that the truth can set you free and you can find more freedom and healing and happiness in your life and relationships, then you got to make sure you're spending more quality time with yourself to really reflect without judgment by asking yourself, what is the real truth about this situation? And write down your thoughts to gain some clarity, and don't move on to the next task until that step is done. So first step is reflect without judgment. The second idea here that's going to help you to embrace the truth in your own life and relationship is you got to seek inner guidance. There is a God-given gift that I highly believe in, and it's your higher self, it's your heart-centered self, or more importantly, it's your intuition, or it's God, depending on who you are, right? I think it's God or your heart. I also think it's intuition, whatever you want to call it, that it suits comfortably with you and right and real with you is what you need to call it. But you got to seek your inner guidance, and you got to trust God. You got to trust your intuition and listen to that inner voice that often knows the truth before your mind does. Your heart knows before your mind does. Your mind, my friend, oftentimes plays tricks on you to see things that truly don't exist, or to speak stories that aren't truly there, or to make you feel or make you question or make you confused. Listen, if you're searching for clarity and truth, and you need to go into your intuition, into your God, into your heart, to allow God to speak in your life, allow your intuition to speak in your life. This might involve meditating. This might involve praying, or simply sitting in silence and solitude to allow your higher self to just speak whatever it is that comes up, by asking yourself, what is the truth about this situation? Or why aren't I moving on? Why aren't I healing? Why aren't I letting go? Why aren't I, getting better in my health, in my finances, in my business, in my relationships, in my life? Why aren't I happy? Why? Ask yourself these questions, and then once you ask yourself these questions, allow for whatever to come up without, like I said, labeling it as good and or bad. Don't try to label something. Just allow it to be, notice it, and jot it down. Seek inner guidance. Trust your intuition. Trust God. Trust your higher self. Trust your heart, and understand that your heart knows before your mind does. And I believe that higher self, that intuitive self, will always lead you into the path that is best for you in this very moment. The third step, my friend, is simply this, is you got to face the truth courageously. This is oftentimes one of the most terrifying parts of the process, because you have to face the truth. And when you recognize the truth, you've got to face it and to accept it with a courageous heart. You know, once the truth is revealed, you've got to accept it with courage. You know, this could mean acknowledging that the relationship has run its course or that certain changes are needed to move forward. Regardless of what that truth is, you've got to face the truth and you got to see it for what it is, not for what you want it to be and not worse than it is, but for just what it is without labeling it once again good and or bad. You got to face that with courage. I always say that you can either hold on with patience or move on with courage. And right now you've got to kind of move yourself into a little bit of a different direction to find the truth, which is to moving into silence and solitude to allow yourself to reconnect and rebuild back the relationship with yourself so that you can trust your inner judgment, your intuition, your inner voice, your God-given voice, your heart-centered self. You've got to face the truth with courageously. And I know this is hard because, listen, there's so many times that I oftentimes in my own personal life is I make problems out to be worse than they truly are. I like drama, you know, maybe is that a thing? I like kind of dramatizing the situation, if I can, to kind of allow myself to, you know, be in that mess for a moment, and then I find my truth. I find the truth. It's not my truth, but it's just a truth that I know is true. And so my friend, like, regardless of what comes up, don't make problems worse than they truly are, and don't make relationships better than they actually were. And this is going to help you to begin to set yourself free and to find happiness, to find hope, to find centeredness, to find yourself back in this moment. And the step number 4 that I have for you today is, you know, you got to act on the truth. There, you know, the law of attraction cannot happen without action, and you got to learn how to act on the truth. You can't gain something without acting accordingly. There's this law called the law of cause and effect. When you say something or when you do something, there's always going to be, a cause and then an effect because you did what you did. So you got to act accordingly. You got to take practical steps based on the truth that you've uncovered and you faced with courage. If the truth suggests that separation is the best thing, the best path, even if it's not the truth that you wanted to face, not the truth that you wanted to hear, not the truth that you felt was best for you, but nonetheless it's still the truth, then I suggest you got to begin to take steps toward creating a new life for yourself. And that's where I come in. I know how hard it is to create a new life for yourself. I know how challenging it is once you recognize that, you know, separation is probably the best part. It's probably the best path for me, and there's no turning back. You know, you've got to understand that when you've hit that decision, sometimes it's hard for you to understand which steps should I actually take? What are the immediate steps to help me cope so that I'm not stuck in my pain? I'm not dwelling in the past. I'm not living with a closed off heart. I'm not, you know, suffering and ruining other relationships with myself or others, and not implementing worse habits that's going to make me feel worse about myself, lower my self-esteem, lower my self-respect, lower my self-worth, lower my self-love. What habits can I begin to embark on and focus in on and act upon that's going to help me rebuild back the relationship that I have with myself so that I can focus on healing and understand that healing is possible, and you can seek to rebuild and strengthen your connection toward yourself. This is where I come in. And if you're struggling to, you know, cope during your separation season because you're not sure exactly how to begin to cope, well then once again, my friend, I have a free masterclass training, and it's going to teach you the 3 steps that you can begin to take in order to move on and to heal after heartbreak. But not only that, listen, and this is me being fully transparent, there is a $50 course that I'm currently offering. It's a super low course with hours of content that's going to help you to understand the immediate steps that you can begin to take during your heartbreak. Like, these are the immediate steps that you need to take in order to heal, in order to move through your separation season so you don't stay stuck, so you don't live with a closed off heart, so that you don't end up bleeding on someone that never cut you. When you find someone new, you oftentimes bleed on someone that never cut you, meaning that you're in this new relationship and you're going to end up ruining that new relationship because you're going to be triggered by them, and it's going to bring your past up because you never dealt with your past in the current moment because you never knew how to. So let me teach you how to do that, and you can find that course in the show notes below. Once again, it's $50. If you don't have $50 to invest into you, then what are you doing here? Like, You got to figure out your financial situation in order for you to invest into you, because you're worth investing into. If you're asking other people to invest their time into you and you're not willing to invest your money into you for you to get better in your life, in your relationships, then why should they invest into you when you're not willing to invest into you? That's a question you got to ask yourself. So once again, you can find that link to the course in the show notes below. Now the last step I really want to offer you is the step of letting go of control. Once you've identified the truth and you recognize the truth and you realize that the truth is, what it is, and you've allowed yourself to accept it, you got to trust that once you acted upon the truth, that the situation will unfold as it's meant to. Now, it may not happen overnight, but it can happen quicker as long as you follow the steps that I talk about in my course. But by staying true to yourself, you align with the law of cause and effect. What you put out will come back to you in a way that's ultimately for you in your highest good. My friend, you got to learn to let go of control. You got to learn to act according to the truth. You got to learn to face the truth with courage. You got to learn how to seek inner guidance and trust that your intuition is going to lead you toward the right person, the right path, the right future, the right life that you've always wanted. And you're going to have to reflect without judgment just by finding a quiet place that you can go into or reflect on your life and relationships. And I'm telling you, if you follow these 5 actionable steps, you will begin to embrace the truth, and you're going to be able to set yourself free from all the pain and suffering. There is a path toward healing. There's hope. There's happiness. There's love. There's light. There is a future of family. There's a future of peace in your home. There's a future of your wife or of your husband. There's kids. There's puppies. There's a future out there that you're waiting to for someone else to bring to you. But I'm telling you that you're the creator of your own reality, and understanding and accepting the truth in your relationship might feel painful at first. But, my friend, it's the key to relational freedom and peace. So I'm asking you today, as your relationship coach and as your life coach, to embrace it and watch as your life begins to align with the reality that best serves your growth and happiness. But please just take a bet on you, take a chance on you, invest into you, show up for yourself, because if you're not willing to show up for you and invest into you and walk through these steps for yourself, then you know what? I don't know why you should ask someone else to do the same thing. And that's my truth for you today, my dear friend. My name is Tylerjoestratton, and this is Honey, I'm Home. If you found this podcast helpful, supportive, encouraging, and or uplifting, please do me a favor and share it out with 1, 2, or 3 of your friends. And like always, this podcasting world can sometimes be very lonely when I don't get reviews and when I don't hear from you all and when I don't get to read your comments and everything that you have to say about the podcast and your current experience. So it's been a pleasure of continuously serving you for many years. For those of you that have been here with me on this journey, I do not take it lightly. And I want to read a review for you today that I got, which has been super helpful. So on the podcast review, for Katie, it says, I found this podcast after dealing with one of the worst breakups I've ever been through. Tyler's helped me work through a lot with this podcast. While it's only been 2 months since the breakup, I continue to listen to his podcast and work on all of the stuff he teaches on. Great podcast. Thank you so much, Katie. I really appreciate you, and I really appreciate your love and your support. And if you want your review read on the podcast, be sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to the podcast at, my dear friend. My name is Tylerjoestratton, and this is Honey, I'm Home.